Running through the presentation, I'll go a little forward as to what we are basically covering in the presentation is one, the format. So we'll have a quick 10-15 minute presentation of all the issues which we have compiled from the industry. Second, we will go around the table in terms of so before that we'll come to the chair in terms of what the government is doing and what are the initiatives taken by the government. And then we'll go around the table taking in inputs from all of you, which will get recorded and compiled into the proceedings. And thereafter, it will come back to the chair for his final words, and then we'll have the vote of thanks. As we begin, I would also request my team to help me with the bouquet. Manoj. And I'll request Advocate Baldesai to present the bouquet to Neeraj Verma. So that's what it will be as we go into the details. Akira, what's the situation? Can somebody else run the presentation? Just do a command tab. No, go to no. Okay, fine, go here. Go to the first slide. Right, we've covered the first slide, so we can move to the next slide after this. Yeah. So, what are we trying to achieve out of this round table is one, explore the strategies to strengthen the last mile connectivity and rural broadband uptake. Lot of initiatives has been going on for the last 15-20 years in terms of providing connectivity. We also changed the definition of broadband. So that there is meaningful connectivity coming into the rural areas. Now that the connectivity is seeping into the rural areas, what do we do with it? A question similar to what do we do with the 5G bandwidth? We have it, what is the killer application for 5G bandwidth? So same question is in the rural areas. Identify policy measures to boost private sector participation in rural networks. The networks are there. Are we expecting the villagers to start using it? Clearly no. There has to be the private sector which will be stepping in and utilizing those services to be able to provide value enhanced services to the rural folks, and therefore we need to have participation from the private sector, not just telecom players but business folks, people who are running apps, people who are providing services on top of the network layer. Leverage the smart village initiatives to deliver services over digital infrastructure. Similar to the previous point, discuss solutions to address operational bottlenecks, including for satellite services, and finally, cross-border trade issues in telecom and made in India. Moving forward, so the high-level discussion points which we have compiled from all of you who are present today is one, BharatNet 3.0 is the issue of rural connectivity and digital use cases. So, in summary, on this point, essentially applications such as telemedicine, education, agriculture, rural enterprise, and a zillion other things that we have been talking about theoretically in many workshops and conferences. Now is the time to roll it out, because now we don't have any excuses that infrastructure doesn't exist, power doesn't exist. All of that exists. We need to now have applications which are meaningful to the rural folks, including in their language, including possibly voice-based rather than written, and so on and so forth. Second is consumer protection. There are issues that have been flagged by the attendees here in terms of differential regulations for telecom service providers and OTTs, as well as challenges because of low international SMS rates and therefore the OTTs are being used for sending messages, which is impacting the viability of the TSPs. Next slide. In terms of telecom infrastructure, the 6 GHz band is critical for expanding 5G capacity, but its partial allocation into unlicensed Wi-Fi will restrict telecom. This is an issue that is well known. It has been again flagged. We can bring it back under the table. High auction reserve price for spectrum increase operator cost, hinder investments in rural expansion and service affordability. And therefore, cost of auction is related to the rolling out of services in the rural areas. I'm sure these are issues that have been well discussed, and the fact that there is a USOF fund and we've got the administrator sitting here, so there is a resolution to these issues. Rationalization of tariff structure and exploring telecom equipment import duty structure. And despite global sustainability target, telecom players face policy and cost barriers in transitioning to renewable energy. We understand that telecom is one of the most polluting industries, right? Because of the towers using DG sets, and therefore, both for the telecom industry and for the environment, it makes a lot of sense to move to renewable energy because the cost of diesel comes down, the cost of transportation of diesel, pilferage, and so on and so forth comes down. But something is stopping us. Even though it's good for everybody, something is stopping us. We need to fix that. And that can only happen through a industry government dialogue. Next slide. Telecom infrastructure, satellite broadband remains underutilized. It is a solution for hard to reach and remote areas. So there are issues that the delegates here would like to talk about. And M&A and PE in the sector and providing ecosystems to fund deep tech research oriented companies. Again, there are funds which are there with the government, and I'm sure a dialogue would help as to where the satellite, the research related to satellite connectivity can be boosted. Next slide. Then there's the entire issue of India-US tariff and non-tariff barriers. While US is complaining about access to the Indian market, Indian manufacturers have serious complaints about access to the US market. There are very significant both tariff now, and earlier there was non-tariff barriers that were put up, and the non-tariff barriers are not reciprocal in nature. So their Make in America Act, which is called the BABA Act, the Build America, Buy America Act, is severely restrictive and has led to losses in terms of investments made by Indian companies in US, and that needs to be looked at. And then the innovation and startups, there is a lack of dedicated structured institutional framework to support telecom and deep tech startups is the view from the industry. I'm not entirely sure whether that's completely true, but that's a view, and we can have a discussion on that. So with that, I'll stop, and I'll request our chair to put in his views, and then we'll go around the table as discussed. Over to you.
Good morning, friends, distinguished speakers, Dr. Bhattacharya, Advocate Desai, other distinguished guests. It is my privilege to be in this roundtable discussion on industry-government partnership. And Dr. Bhattacharya has already covered a lot of topic pertaining to a lot of issues pertaining to the topic. I just like to highlight what we are doing in duty. I have my colleague, Mr. Sinha, Atul Sinha. He is DG of Communication Academy and also the DG. He will give a quick presentation on phygital services which we plan to roll out, which again is where we require industry participants. You see, when we charted out our roadmap for Viksit Bharat by 2047, we identified 4 pillars for telecom sector. First is Samaveshan, which is inclusive and which aims at bridging digital divide. And this is where use of fund comes handy. Second is Surakshit or secure, to have a safe and secure communication. Samrit or growth, where Atmanirbhar and Vishwabandhu, these are two themes. So we want to be more Atmanirbhar. Today's roundtable discussion is about that. But we also want to be a net exporter and twarit or responsive. So we want to go to a phase where there is ease of living and doing business, because we feel that this will help industries to boost their manufacturing and become reliable. Atmanirbhar Bharat, the data which we have is that if you look at just telecom part, removing this mobile per se, so 2024 we had 4,800 crores of manufacturing, but 24 it rose to almost 30,000 crore, and CAGR is very healthy, 44%. Similarly, our import-export gap has come down drastically in last 3 to 4 years, and we identified that from here we want to move towards a telecom product nation. And as a part of that, we have fixed a target that by 2030, our exports should grow by from 2.2 to 2.5 billion right now to 5 to 10 billion. This is an internal, more realistic target. We feel that once we put the things in place, which I will highlight, we probably will move towards that direction. And Dr. Bhattacharya has already highlighted some recent achievements. India is the fastest 5G rollout we have seen in the world. More than 80% of our area is covered. Our data continues to be the cheapest at 9 rupees per GB, and India with 120 crore subscribers, second largest subscriber. So coming back to the product nation, we had 4 task force, and the task force were had experts from industries, from academia and other experts, and they looked at R&D, component manufacturing, software development, product manufacturing, testing and certification, and brand promotion. These are the areas they looked into, and they came up with 4 reports. So I'll give you just a hint of what we are planning to do, but we are also planning how we plan to fund it. Largely we plan to fund through Digital Bharat Nidhi or USO fund. We want to set up a telecom manufacturing zone because we feel that this is where, because of the niche area of this telecom sector, we require these manufacturing units to be at one place. And the development and commercialization of telecom chipsets, which is again the new area, focus area for us. Skill development we have identified is very important for us. We don't have adequate number of PhDs in India which are in telecom sectors. And development of telecom software, localization of telecom and networking product ecosystem. This is apart from PLI which we have already rolled out. So these are at the various stages of policy formulation and report formation, and we hope that sooner some of them will be granted. At Digital Bharat Nidhi, we are implementing Atmanirbhar Bharat project, which I feel is a great opportunity for industry, because we are going to invest 1.5 lakh crore in setting up a network, and they are required both as developer. Many of them they have participated in many industries. They can provide parts which will come for the network, and they can also be the beneficiary in leveraging this network, because this network asset is Government of India asset, and we have said that it has to be provided to all who require on a non-discriminatory basis. Dark fiber could be one area where industry could be interested, and similarly backhaul for fiberization of mobile towers. So in this, we are hoping this time that with 10 years of O&M, we will be able to provide uptime of 98% plus. That will be in tune with the industry demand, and we can be able to leverage the assets. The utilization of BharatNet on Samriddh Gram and the presentation, my colleague Mr. Atul will give a presentation. So I'll just conclude now with final word that we have a Telecom Technology Development Fund, and the last financial year we spent the maximum, almost 200 crores in giving the grant to industries from Telecom Technology Development Fund. Dr. Bhattacharya is part of it, and is also part of the strategic group for formulating the strategies for utilization. We are again in the process of setting up a Section 8 company, which is, we call it Anveshan. So let us hope that it comes earlier, as early as possible, because we feel that in government, handling such type of fund is difficult. We are inherently risk averse, where there is a handling and giving out the fund to the private sectors. So once that Section 8 company comes, probably we will be able to support R&D in a much more vigorous way. This year we are expecting to provide or sanction something like 800 crores. So it is on a growing trajectory. So I'll stop at this stage, and I'll request Atul to give a very short presentation on Samriddh Gram and digital services, which is basically utilization of BharatNet network. Atul.
Thank you, sir. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. All of us are aware that the BharatNet Phase 1 and Phase 2 was to connect the Gram Panchayats, 2.5 lakh Gram Panchayats of the country. And with the learnings that we had in Phase 1 and Phase 2, that fiber means robust and highly reliable connectivity, and DBN, the government realized that it cannot be achieved through a linear connectivity, and therefore the amended BharatNet Phase 3 program, where it has been planned that all 2.5 lakh GPs will be connected in a ring topology, so that high reliability could be achieved. Now, if we look at it here, we believe that our friends, telecom service providers, have probably done enough or near to enough for providing broadband access in the urban areas. But what is remaining is doing enough for connecting the broadband into rural areas, taking it to rural areas, and that is what the Honorable Administrator of Digital Bharat Nidhi has been planning for the last 2 years, and because of his vision, we have come out with a mechanism which ensures that the cables are not only laid at a proper depth, the service level is also guaranteed back to back by the service provider. So it is Neeraj's vision that this time, whatever we do a pakka kaam. For next 10 years, there is an agency who is responsible to provide us SLA. And that's the reason I want to assure on behalf of DOT to every single telecom professional sitting here that look, this Phase 3 is not going to be in service quality like Phase 1 and Phase 2. It is going to be a real game changer in terms of ensuring the quality of service and the SLAs. So, as this high-speed broadband connectivity is our vision is to make our villages have digital governance, all possible digital services that are available in the urban area, and therefore the digital economy, which has been booming largely because of the urban contribution. Real boom for the country will come when the rural population also starts participating into the digital economy. That is what we feel that it can be a very big game changer. So we are providing high-speed internet access through amended BharatNet to government institutions, to private enterprises and entrepreneurs, and also to households. At individual level services, we are also trying to extend group extension services, and we are also trying to take targeted initiatives for extending this broadband connectivity and utilization of that. So fundamentally, please next slide. So fundamentally, we divide into 3 pillars. For network provisioning, Atmanirbhar program will be there, and for service provisioning, BharatNet Udyami's scheme we have already brought, but I know that Neeraj sir is already have started looking into it, how this leg can be improved further. BharatNet Udyami's is one way of extending that, but probably the scale at which now Digital Bharat Nidhi is planning to extend broadband services to rural areas, 1.5 crore connections to be given in next 2 to 3 years in rural areas specifically, that may need some additional augmentation, and that's the place where we invite private participation and suggestions that how we can improve and how can we have more players to play in that area in addition to BharatNet Udyami what we have right now. Then the third is meaningful utilization. We are trying various services. One pilot project I'll be talking in the next slides. Next. So here we see these are the government institutions at village level. There's a Pradhan Mantri Adarsh Gram Yojana, where we find there are a lot of government institutions and private institutions and cooperative institutions existing in villages, at least at the GP level, which immediately need connectivity. Schools, PHCs, Gram Panchayat offices, post offices, Krishi Vigyan Kendras, PACs, Anganwadi centers, self-help groups are the name to name few. And Honorable Prime Minister has already announced for connectivities to be extended to schools and PHCs, I believe. And then on the right hand side you see there are a lot of private entrepreneurs and enterprises that can be connected in villages, that they really need broadband connection, artisans, sericulture, handlooms, fish farming, so on and so forth. So as we said, we are trying to make our interventions at 3 level, individual level services through Samridhram app. In Honorable Neeraj direction, we are trying to develop an app which would be multilingual, where all the basic facilities could be told to the villagers, common villagers at individual level, and there will be voice interaction also possible in that, so that citizens who are not educated can probably go through that. Then there are group level services that we are trying, and also we are taking targeted initiatives for develop use cases, broadband use cases, and develop economic hubs for entrepreneurial excellence. So next slide. So under administrators' guidance, we have now started a pilot project for 3 villages. We have given the name Phygital Villages, physical plus digital villages, and the idea is to transform rural India into digitally empowered, self-reliant communities with broadband connectivity, enhancing access to education, healthcare, governance, and driving economic growth. So whatever services available in urban area could be possibly extended to rural areas to make their life more look like urban areas. We are trying to extend that, and the idea behind this particular pilot project is to provide all these services under one roof, under a unified structure. In past, there has been instances where several government departments have taken certain initiatives. Somebody has put health ATM, somebody has put some educational smart classes and all in a distributed fashion. Health department did in some other village and education department did in some other village. The financial and operational viabilities, if we extend by one services, is impossible. That is my study in last 3-4 months. I have been working on this under Neeraj sir's guidance, and I can assure you and tell you that unless all possible services to be extended, ICT services to be extended in rural areas can be provided under one roof through one mechanism, one agency, it is not going to be financially and operationally viable. That is the premise that we are trying to establish, trying to prove through this through this digital village pilot project that we are doing. So these are the healthcare and wellness. The services that we are trying to cover is related to healthcare, education and digital literacy, agriculture and farming, connectivity and e-commerce, livestock and aquaculture, e-governance and many more. And these projects will be done for 2 years. So next slide. So these are the few services we have identified as the basic minimum. These 16 services that will be put operational in these 3 villages are the minimum services that will be available to every village. However, in our call for proposal that is likely to be floated probably another 3 weeks time, we have said that any other innovative services, if it is felt that it could be of some help to the citizen and financially it could be financially viable to be extended there, we are welcoming all the startups in the country. We are inviting through this forum, we are trying to invite all the startups in the country to please come forward and let us know that what are those services which could be useful for villages. I'm not going to read through these services. We'll make our presentation available. Like you can try to go through these services. So what we are trying to do is that we, from in the Gram Panchayat building possibly, we are trying to take 1,000 square feet area of a hall, and we will develop it as a unified service centers extending all services. We will provide washroom facility there, we will provide air conditioning there, we will provide a robust broadband connectivity, Bharat connectivity there, we will provide the UPS supply there, the power supply, stable power supply, the stable connectivity and the basic infrastructure will be ensured by the government, by Department of Telecommunications. Now we will invite the one anchor service provider who will, because these services of health department, education department may be provided by different vendors, by different startups. So we need one aggregator, and that is the anchor service provider. He will be the primary interface with us, and he will be bringing at the back of it all those, integrating all those startups who will be providing the actual services. We are also connecting the LoRaWAN, one LoRaWAN gateway, so that long distance IoT services can also be tested. Our Honorable Minister has given us some guidance to put a small library also, a digital learning space also. There will be free Wi-Fi zone also, and so on. So this is what we are trying to do. BharatNet fiber as backbone, we are trying to establish. It can change the scenario at the rural area. It can revolutionize the life of the rural citizen using BharatNet. That is one of the major applications that we are trying to demonstrate with the BharatNet fiber connectivity, and FTTH and PM Vani connectivity is also there. This will be center for extending the FTTH connections also, like 1.5 crore connection we have to provide in 3 years. We are also trying to build in that the smart TV, any smart TV can be converted into a computer, and that kind of a kit also will be provided. The drone services also we are putting here, that anybody can come here and take the drone as a service, fly the drone as a service. It is open to all Indian companies, NGOs and startups, and consortium should be led by an anchor vendor. We have right now scholar we have shown. There will be sub vendor 1, 2, 3 and n number of vendors for different type of services related to education, health, agriculture and so on. So these are the villages that we have selected. Honorable Minister has given us guidance that one village should be of small size, one should be of middle size in terms of population, and one should be a large size. So these are the 3 villages that we have selected, and we will be extending these services, these pilot services into these 3 villages. Our time frame is almost 24 days. Yes,
The names of the villages, because that's represented.
Name is Ari and Numri in Madhya Pradesh, in Guna district. then Narakudru in AP, Andhra Pradesh from Guntur districts, and Chaurawala in Muzaffarnagar. Next. So this all from my side, sir. I have a lot to. I mean, the points that you have invoked, I have a lot to say. And whenever during the conversation, if any point comes, I would like to speak on all those points that you have mentioned. Only I will conclude by sir 1 minute by saying that National Telecom Policy 2025, the policy draft has been, I have done a lot of work in that, basic writing, general co-chair has come, general co-chair has come, and a lot of industry, we have taken inputs from industry. The draft is there, and we have circulated this draft to the industry. My earnest request to each one of you sitting here, please spare some time, give your valuable inputs. Whatever we are talking here, please give it in the form of a robust and very clean program. What exactly do you want? How can we incorporate your suggestions into National Telecom Policy? We are very open. The Department of Telecom is very, very open. Sir is very, very open to accept the new ideas. So we'll be very happy to receive concrete, please suggest us concrete policy steps that are. Thank you.
Atul, just you have to say one thing, that from pilot to full-fledged, how you will do. This is just to find out VGF.
So, we have understood that there will be scaling up this initiative, what we have taken to the pilot village at the national level would require a lot of government process re-engineering. We understand that because this implementation of this kind of initiative into villages involve at least 6 central government departments, at least 6-7 state government departments, the local administration, and unless every single person contribute to this cannot happen. We believe that this is path to Viksit Bharat. 2035, if we can implement this kind of initiative in 1 lakh villages or 2 lakh villages in the country, GPs in the country, probably that is the path to Viksit Bharat. But for that, lot of government process re-engineering should be required. Probably we may have to think of making a special purpose vehicle in the form of some Section 25 company or Section 28 company, where everybody puts in money. I put, as Department of Telecom, I put my connectivity portion. The energy department puts its power as the input. The health department puts its funds as input. And then there is one executing agency who takes money from everyone, but who ensures the quality implementation in every village. That is a very far thing. We are trying to involve World Bank also to study these, to suggest. I have a plan that for every single operation in this village, there will be a SOP made. How a person enters, if there are 4 persons entering into the center, how they will be tackled. There are only 2 persons to support that, because आप ज़्यादा लोगों को नहीं deploy कर सकते हैं, because financial viability is a question. So operational viability and financial viability is what we are trying to study through these pilot projects, how operational viability and financial viability can be brought in for such initiatives to scale it up to the annual level. So that is the question that we.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
No, thank you so much. Thank you, sir, Administrator, and Atulji. I think this is a very, very encouraging development that's happening. One of the key points that Atulji kept emphasizing on is implementable suggestions. We are very quick to jump to what is the utopian world that we should arrive at, but that is not necessarily implementable in the constraints that each one of us operate in, and therefore that will be the operative word, that what is the suggestion that's implemented. So I'll move to the table then, and I'll request General Co-Chair, who is also the partner for this session, and the Director General of COI on the interventions and inputs from his perspective. Sir.
Thank you, Jaydeep. Mr. Nidhi Verma, the Chair, Dr. Jaydeep, Mr. Desai. Thank you for getting me here. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. At times it happens that you are the last speaker and many people have spoken before you, you can't say anything much. But in this case, the first speaker himself has spoken everything. And I must congratulate you that the work that you people are doing is fantastic. And I'm sure that once this is fructified, this will bring a lot of succor to the villages. It takes me back to 2011 when I was inducted into the then Northern board, and the discussions that time were also the same. That we will take the fiber to a village. What are we going to do thereafter? Now, everybody, right from the secretary to name anyone, Nilekani, Sam Petroda, sitting there, they all said the same thing. That you are going to take the fiber. What about the use? Who's going to use it? And so many years down the line, we are still debating the same, but I'm glad that some initiatives have now been taken and these things are going to work out. So what essentially you have brought out is why are we requiring connectivity? And this is something which you have brought out very succinctly, that connectivity is for the user. It is not to tick mark anything in the files, it is for making the life of a user more productive and more, his livelihood should depend on that. And therefore, connectivity is important from the point of view of benefit to the citizen. But we need a network that is secure, of the requisite quality, quantity, and high uptime. This is essential. I'll be touching on this. What are the ingredients we require? And this is something that it's not only the government who has to do it, the private sector also has to pitch in. And together we have to improve the life of a citizen. And this is what we are doing. And this is how we should continue doing it. So all the initiatives that Mr. you mentioned, I'm sure will spill over to the private sector also, wherever there is financial feasibility. Our Honorable Minister mentioned in Telecom a few months back that Telecom is no longer a vertical, but it is a value-added horizontal. That means it is supporting all other verticals towards improvement in their respective fields. So this is a very profound and a very important statement. Without telecom connectivity, other verticals will also not grow, whether it is urban or rural. Telecom has now become an essential service. And we have to pay a lot of attention to this essential service, and therefore we have to look differentially at the way we govern it, at the way we regulate it, and the way it is implemented. Now, in this, I will take cue from what you said. Now, there are two ways of taking the services to the user, and I'm drawing from my skills experience of 6 years. Normally, where we go a little haywire is we are very good at pushing things. Right? We sit down together, we say that this is what you require, so I'm going to give it to you. Right? And we try to push that. It happened in the skill ecosystem also. We decided that this is what the industry requires. So we skilled people in that, certified them and pushed them out into the wilderness, hoping that they will be picked up. We shouldn't repeat the same mistake here. We should take their requirements into view, and we should build a system accordingly. And that is where what I say, it is important that we also incorporate the pull system. The pull should come from the user. What do they want? And then create that ecosystem. And this is doable, especially in the 5G era. It may not have been fully doable in 4G, but in 5G era it is possible. And that is actually speaking what sets apart 5G from 4G. So therefore, pull system, it has to be incorporated. You have mentioned a little bit on that, but it has to be reinforced. The second thing, again, drawing from experience and the skills, is change management. Don't expect a villager to pick up a laptop and start working when he's not used to a laptop. So let the environment remain the same. Tailor your system in such a manner that his change management is the least. Don't change the way he works. Right? If you're taking education to a classroom, don't make it only digital. Don't make it English oriented. And yet you have to take the best content and the best speaker to the worst placed classroom without change management. That is the criteria which should be followed. Right? So networks now permit that. You can have a hub and spoke method, you can have a data warehouse, data mart method, by which you can bring the best speaker sitting in Delhi to the worst place classroom in Juli Delhi, and with a translated version of what the master instructor from NITPRED is transmitting and being translated into the classroom by a local instructor. It becomes aspirational for him also. He will want to become a master instructor after some time. So therefore it is aspirational for him also. This can be translated to any other sector. I'm only talking about skills, but this can be translated to any sector. And if you try to make major changes in the system, the change management will bring down that system ab initio. So change has to be gradual. It cannot be forced just because the government wants it. It won't happen. The thing that flows out from all this discussion is what we require is aggregation platform. We have to provide a digital aggregation platform, much on the lines of like what Amazon is doing. Right? You provide APIs to people who can use APIs. You provide direct access to consumers. You are reducing change management. You are negating change management. You are permitting the people to use the best facilities, using the same equipment which they are used to, and you are meeting their aspirations. So platforms will become big business in future. At the network edge, at the application layer, we will increasingly find platforms coming up. Platform will become a business. And today this is nebulous because security of APIs is not very well researched. This is something which has to be done. It will be done because the demand will be there. It's a pull demand, it is not a push demand. So this is something that we must look at and use digital to aggregate this thing. You have, again, Mr. Sinha alluded to this, but you have more or less, the way I thought, you made it into aggregator physical. But I am saying make it an aggregator digital and put all sorts of verticals on that and design it very well so that anybody who wants to use it can use it, and economies of scale will play into your hands. Right? So that is something, then the proliferation of this will be very fast. Otherwise, if you do, like you said, village to village, district to district, it will take huge amount of time, huge amount of access. By the time you finish with one, by the time you go to the last village, the technology would have been outdated. You keep doing technology refresh, it won't work. And so interoperability, acceptability, all of them will come from digital platforms. So we must encourage that. Now, what is it? What are the components? And we as TSPs, I represent the TSPs, so therefore I have to talk about how we will connect them. What are the components and how they should be looked at afresh, so that we provide the right type of connectivity which I mentioned, the 4 aspects I mentioned earlier. So investment costs for any network is humongous today, and the major cost goes into spectrum. The spectrum auction prices are determined by old algorithms which are not relevant today in 5G era, not relevant to telecom becoming a value-added horizon. Right? Please also understand that the difference in time between the time of investment and the time of ROI has increased because of change of technology. And therefore, this intervening period is telling very much on the finances of the providers. So therefore, the cost of provisioning has to be reduced. Up to the 4G era, this gap was less. Right? You could provide networks and expect ROIs in a little lesser period of time. But in 5G, no, because we don't know the use cases yet. We are still struggling to find use cases which are worth its while. Chota use cases don't matter. Right? This is one. So spectrum has to be looked at first from the price point of view. Secondly, it has to be looked at from the contiguous point of view. We have to have adequate spectrum. So when I said quality, and I also mentioned the word quantity, you must have been thinking, why is it talking about quantity in networks? Quantity in networks means we should give the adequate amount of bandwidth which is required at a particular place, and it should be done. That can be done only if we have contiguous spectrum, and if we also have the roadmap of availability of spectrum known to us, at least for 10 years, so that we can plan properly. Now, please keep in mind this 10-year aspect that I'm talking about, we are going to refer to it again. Okay. So, this is important. So, the ingredients should be made available. Otherwise, if you don't have the ingredients, then it is very difficult and it will always be patchy. And what Jaydeep referred to, I will draw that as an example about 6 gigahertz. Listen, we have time and again told the government that for effective 5G rollout, we require 2 gigahertz of spectrum. We have only 800. The minister has gone on stage and said that we recognize the need of 2 gigahertz and we will make it available in a period of time. The question is, we are not saying that we have any love lost or anything very special to get it in 6 gigahertz or we get it in 3 gigahertz. We want 1200. And we want 1200 in the mid-band. Because that is where the demand of the public is. It is not because we want it or not because the OEMs want it. Because the demand of bandwidth is such that the most suitable band is the mid-band. If you can free the C-band, we'll be happy to take 1200 there. If you can't free it, which it is apparent that you can't free it that. So therefore you give it to us in the 600 and in the 6 gigahertz band. But don't curtail it. We require 1200. Okay, if competing industries require it, we are not saying that don't give it to them or don't look at them with a different point of view. If it is of public good, obviously we will give it. But don't curtail our 1200. We require 1200. That should be the bottom line. Next comes the ROW rules. Now the Telecom Act has been enforced, has been promulgated, and it is applicable across the country because it's a national act. However, state governments are still not fully falling in line, and the local bodies are not at all falling in line. So on ground, the difference hasn't been as much as was expected, and this was highlighted in a ministerial conference by me that this will happen, and we have to guard against this, and we have to see that it is negated. But the pace at which some states and some local bodies are defying this act, not openly but surreptitiously, is detrimental to the TSPs. They want to roll out networks, they want to invest, they are not being committed to do so. Even now, ROW charges range from 1 crore to the promulgated 10,000 rupees. So the act has to be implemented. Government of India has taken a lot of good steps. They have made a portal, which is interconnected portal. That is very nice. But again, that stick and carrot approach has to come. It is not there now. It is not there. It is advisories. Advisories don't get obeyed. Next is the humongous cost. I already alluded to that. There is a time lapse between our investment and by the time we can start making money out of it. So therefore, anybody and everybody who uses this network has to contribute to the creation of this network. Unfortunately, that is not happening. We are in a catch-22 situation that LTGs who are running on our networks and making a lot of money are not contributing anything. And a few suggestions have been given to the stakeholders committee where different models have been given as to how they can contribute. We are not very particular about which model is to be followed by the government. That is for the government to decide. But what our bottom line is that they must contribute. right? We are time and again saying that we are not wanting startups and smaller players to contribute. We are capable of carrying them free. But the large people, they have to contribute. And I'll give you an example of how I try to bring out this analogy in a high level committee. We work in the IP networks. So that is a 7-layer OSI market. You don't know the layer of it. Right? So the DSPs have to start from layer 1 and go up to layer 7. And then only they can use the application layer to provide applications to or services to the subscribers. Am I right so far? You can't dispute that. All 7 layers have to be built. So I said that they came to building a 7-layer building, 7-story building. And when you reach the top of the building, only then you can sell your wares. Before that you can't. And you have spent and invested money in building those 7 stories. Now suddenly somebody comes in a helicopter and lands up on top of the building and starts selling his wares. And when you ask him, here you please pay the rent or you pay for the creation of the building, why should I pay? I come from the sky, so I'm not going to pay you anything. This is exactly what is happening in entities. And slowly and steadily they are crowding the space. Simplest example, simplest solution what we can told is, don't let them offer the services. It's a catch-22 situation. If we don't let them offer the services, then our subscribers will leave us also. But the money we get from our subscribers is not sufficient to defray the cost that we spend on the networks. And the networks that we create are not for only our use, they have to be high quality so that they can carry the OTT traffic which the subscriber wants. The subscriber is the king, and the lacunae in the system are being exploited by entities by not paying. There are many aspects in which the country is losing out by not charging these entities, which I will touch on the security aspect subsequently. But this is something that I wanted to bring to your notice, hence I have dealt in a little bit of a detail. Jaideep mentioned.
General, I was thinking that Pradeep Gupta would need to leave, so if you can make his intervention and if he can come back to you, would that be okay with you?
That may not be, because then the flow goes.
Okay, so
Give me, I will shorten it.
sure.
Right. Green energy is another thing that you mentioned, that telecom is a polluting industry. Okay, so help us. A huge amount of initiatives have been taken by the government of India to bring in green energy. That has to be strengthened. Right? And I wanted to speak a little more on that, but because I was just mentioned about green energy and leave it there. Now, as far as you topic about Trump tariffs, that can be exploited by us also. Why are we looking at it only negatively? We can look at it positively only, because that is now a differential of duties, where India is not the worst, India is not the best. So therefore, the people who are in the worst countries, who are manufacturing and selling in US, for them it makes sense to shift their base from China, from wherever they manufacture, to India. So that is, we should openly invite them, and they will, with all the incentives that Neeraj has mentioned, they should shift their base. There is no logic reason why they won't. So the second thing is, all those people who are being disrupted from the US because of their inclination to have sons of the soil, that is a trained manpower, which cannot be replaced by the American because they are not yet trained into that. In any case, they will have to take services of these people, maybe from a country which is better favored. So the skill ecosystem, and to make the Prime Minister's vision a reality, make India as a skill capital of India. Take these people to those group of countries, and from there provide the same services what these people were providing while they were sitting in the US. So skilled Indian manpower ousted out of US, goes to X country with the help of the government of India and provide the same services. These are the silver linings which can be utilized. the device ecosystem has to pick up, especially in the rural area. It has to be low-cost device. We cannot expect people to buy devices what the urban people can buy. So therefore, with 5G, can we create a device which is equivalent to a thin client of land, which means that it is a minimalistic device, which relies on the power of the edge, on the compute of the edge, and provide the services to the subscriber as a thin client, right? So what will happen with this? The device will require very little memory. It will work on OLTP. It will work on a combination of OLTP and OLAP. So the bandwidth required will be much less. And we will be actually utilizing 5G because we're using the edge and computing and edge storage. Right? So it fits in very well. And if we use this concept, back of the envelope calculation says that we can provide a phone at the cost of about 5,000 rupees. Easy. And this is something which you should take up in a startup. Ease of doing business is important for us. While a lot of policies have come out on them, implementation is not yet to the level where it should be. And unfortunately, in many cases, more regulatory burden is coming on the TSPs. This may be inadvertent, may be advertent, but this has to be looked at advertently and seen that this light touch regulation actually becomes a reality. We are getting a lot of compliance burdens which are not there earlier, which are not started coming in new. Of course, there on the flip side, there are some compliance burdens are being removed also, but the mismatch is towards our, is not to our benefit, it is towards distress. A lot of questions keep getting asked in seminars that how do you look at satellite? I look at it as a complementary technology. In days to come, if you have to give connectivity to the entire country, you have to use all means of connectivity, whether it is terrestrial, it is satellite, sub-satellite, or undersea. All of them have to be used interoperably with the same standards to provide connectivity at the fastest level with least amount of chain management. Again, I come to chain management. And the chain management which is required can be handled by AI. Whether embedded AI or what is the other form of AI like ChatGPT which you can use Gen AI, but with proper data sets and with proper localization and security. Because otherwise, Gen AI may throw up options which our enemy wants to be thrown up, and we will act on that because it has come through a computer, which is not desirable. Embedded AI will not do that, but for that, we have to do a lot of work in embedded AI, which is being done and which should be taken up faster. As far as security is concerned, obviously cyber security is essential, and cyber security has to be part of, it should be part of the, it should be organic. It cannot be an overlay, not like 4G. If you are protecting a network which is growing and contracting dynamically, then the cyber security should also contract and grow simultaneously. Otherwise, how will it protect? So therefore, that the industry of network providers, OEMs, and cyber security have to collaborate or work together or merge. Eventually, they will merge, but at this point in time, collaboration is working. Spam and scam. I'll paint a picture. I'm wearing a smartwatch. I can be tracked. I can be tracked. Okay, I'll take it off. My tracker goes. I'm carrying a phone. I can be tracked. Yes. How can I be tracked? Through a SIM. I bring out a second phone. I install WhatsApp on this, on the new phone. Okay, take out the SIM, put the SIM in the old phone, but don't install WhatsApp there. So now what has happened is I have disaggregated WhatsApp and SIM. With me? I leave my SIM here. As far as the telecom networks and the lawful interception is concerned, I am physically located here. My WhatsApp may be in Guwahati. I may do any crime there. I have an alibi that I was here in Constitution Club. So those are the new sort of challenges which are coming up. And they need to be, and the solution is very simple. Bind the two. If SIM is not there on your mobile phone, the WhatsApp will not work. And it is there, the facility is there, because you can't install it, and there is a binding between the two. But after installation, you can do whatever you want to do. So I'm just giving an example that there are many of such things that need to be corrected. And the scams, I'm glad to say that our members have come out with AI-based scam protection, which is fantastic. And the originator is sitting here, this is an international grade, world grade sort of program which has come out, and it is being appreciated world over. It should get recognition in India also. Why it is not getting recognition? The government of India should award this type of a program, so that it encourages others to come out with this. Right. Similarly, the TRI is coming up with TCCBR along with the industry, and they're cooperating and they're working shoulder to shoulder, and very soon these things will be rolled out, and we will find the scam going down. But this has to be concentrated effort, and because the challenges are different, we have to sit down and we have to discuss. And the last thing that I want to mention is, we are always going to be finding it difficult to find applications in the new era, 5G and 6G, which will give us adequate amount of ROI. And the reason for that is not because nobody has suggested applications. The government of India has taken some initiatives, setting up labs in colleges, etc., etc. Good initiatives, sir. But, and pardon me for saying so, colleges will not give you commercial applications. You expect a student to give you commercial applications? No way. The labs which you have set up are good for testing devices. But do you think that the labs are going to give you applications? No, they will, but few. So what is the answer? Startups is the answer for short term. For short term. Why haven't we started working in prospective planning? I come back to the 10-year syndrome which I was mentioning. Plan for 10 years, and for the long-term planning, sit with the verticals that are growing on this horizontal telecom. Sit with the top leadership there and do brainstorming, and then you will know where the trend is going in the industry, and from there will flow what are the applications which are trying to come up. Then go to the midterm and accordingly change the level of people we're discussing with. And then you will have a perspective plan that in the next 1 year or 2 years I'm going to get this type of applications, in the next 5 years I'm going to get this type of application, in 10 years this is going to be the scenario. So plan accordingly. Then yes, then we will not have a dearth of applications. But if we only do knee-jerk, I'm not by any means suggesting we are doing knee-jerk, but in any organization if you do only knee-jerk appreciations, it will not take dividends. I think I rest my case here. Thank you so much. And sorry, Mr. Gupta.
No, thank you, General. As usual, it's been very, very informative to hear about the industry issues from your side. I think a lot of very in-depth suggestions that you have made, and some of them have been around for quite some time, and still we are struggling to solve them. Hopefully, as we move forward, we can make a difference and able to resolve it. So, thank you again, General. Moving to Pradeep Gupta because he needs to leave, and we again keenly look forward to your views. If somebody could pass the microphone to Pradeep.
Thank you, Jayji. Thank you, Neerajji, and thank you, General Sir, for very, very, I think you laid out all the issues which are currently facing the industry in a very, very, as you said, succinct manner, so that is very fantastic. I want to talk about a different different issue altogether. And I'm now not wearing my media hat, but I'm wearing my startup hat. And that startup hat is that, I'm on the investment committee of the 10,000 crore fund of funds, which invests into various VCs. I'm also an angel investor connected to the co-founder of Indian Angel Network, the chair of IBCAP, and several funds. So I wanted to talk about the startup ecosystem. And if we want to strengthen our Atmanirbhar, if we want to have various, industry government partnerships, then I think it will be on the shoulders of startups. Especially when we talk about rural India, it will have to be definitely on the shoulders of startups, because otherwise this revolution will not happen. And this is where I wanted to sort of share certain ideas with all of you. And by the way, there are templates which are today available in the government which have worked very, very well in terms of ensuring that startup growth takes place. And I'll just mention a few so that you get a flavor. One of them is the entire Bharat program. So in the Bharat program, today it is possible for somebody to take a theory and convert it into an idea. You can take an idea and you can convert it into a POC. You can take a POC and you can convert it into a prototype. You can take a prototype and convert it into a business. You can take a business and you can scale it up and so on. And it is a combination of grant programs as well as equity programs, and therefore, it gives a complete sort of a spectrum which is available to people. The second program is the fund of funds, where, as you had earlier pointed out, that government very often it's difficult for them because of the conservative nature to take that decision. And in the fund of funds, it is essentially giving money to those funds that are going to invest in that sector. Okay, so yes, EDF was created for that particular purposes, but EDF did not work. But today the fund of funds structure has actually worked very well. SEBI has done an excellent job of managing that. Money is actually coming back also. So that is another template that is available on which it is possible to build this up. The third example I want to take is that of Electropreneur Park, and Sanjeev, my friend here, is involved with the Electropreneur Park ever since its inception, where the entire creation of that park was done with the association, the ministry, implementation partners, and a complete sort of a nurturing of startups was done. It has been very, very successful program. So much so that the second Electropreneur Park came in Bhubaneswar, and then after that, of course, there are some 24 Center of Excellences that C-DEP has come out, which are all modeled on that one Electropreneur Park that came out. So this is where it is possible for the early conversion from ideas to POCs and to prototypes and so on. So all that kind of development work can happen there. Another thing is IDEX. And IDEX also for defense technology has been a very successful program, which has actually given good sizable amount of grant going into people who are working on solutions for the defense sector. So these templates are there. There are some problems with them, and perhaps one can share some of those things also. And essentially, for example, in one of the programs, when they give that grant, they also want that the startup should give a bank guarantee. Now, a startup, will only get a bank guarantee by pledging that same amount. So it practically does not work out in their favor. And therefore, there have to be things that have to be changed in terms of making these schemes very, very robust and very, very meaningful and really contributing to the development of the startup ecosystem. Another very important part of that is providing market access, especially when we look at rural areas and so on. Government has to play a very important role in terms of ensuring that what the work this startup does can actually reach the customer. And therefore, I'm glad that we are talking about, you were mentioning, Atulji, that there are different kind of, things at the delivery point that will be there. So that becomes something which is very important, but then there should be a different kind of a mechanism that should be available by which these startups, once they've prepared their products, can actually take them into those areas. So I think creating this robust ecosystem is something which is absolutely essential. And once again, if you look at agri-tech, if you look at health tech into the rural areas, if you look at the different areas that you had listed, the 16 areas, I know a number of startups are working in those areas, can actually make ground level changes. So those were the few suggestions I wanted to give. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Bharat. And as usual, PG, your reports are very, very extremely helpful. And those aspects that we have thought through. In fact, I was just thinking for the Samrit Gram, some of these institutional structures can be used where some of the innovations can be perhaps coming out from these topics.
I need to go now, but I'll be there for the afternoon round table, and I'll be there fully for that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks. With that, we move to Dr. Jan, and we keenly look forward to your views. And obviously, things have been already spoken, as usually happens, and feel free to skip.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Jaydeep, and thanks, C-DEP, for providing us this opportunity. I will focus myself only on the satellite-based communication, satellite-based connectivity, because that is what is we are looking at. And as rightly put by the General Kocher Saab also, that we should see the satellite as a part of and part and parcel of the terrestrial and telecommunication, basically, because not only that it complements the telecom services, even for the niche area where the telecom or the terrestrial services cannot go, the satellite is only being on connectivity. So, so most important thing is that how to take the benefit of the SATCOM technology to the society, which everyone is now working at. And at the same time, the importance is also to take the Indian space economy forward. And that is what is the vision of, we have brought out our vision document, wherein we want to take the Indian space economy from current $8.4 billion to $44 billion. And of course, the third very important thing is the Atmanirbhar. And for all these three objectives which we have to meet, naturally we have to have now create a very sound space ecosystem in the country. So I just touch upon 3-4 aspects wherein the government has been working and taken some of the initiative to create a good space ecosystem in India. The first most important foremost comes the policy. And as all of you are aware, about 4 years ago, the government brought the space sector reforms, wherein it opened the space sector for the private entities. And we all discussed that how important it is to involve the private parties or non-government entities for the development of the country. So then that started with the Indian space policy in 2023. Which also led to the bringing out the norms, guidelines and procedures. Now in the SATCOM area, if we see, the SATCOM policy 1997 was in vogue till such time this Indian space policy 2023 came. And the norms, guidelines and procedures were brought in 2000. So it's quite old that. And then since then, the new NGP which we brought in, and the Indian space policy which opened up the sector for the private entities, and also the creation of InSpace, that is Indian National Space Promotion Authorization Center, as a totally autonomous entity under Department of Space for not only promoting and enabling the space industry, but also the regulating and supervising it also. Now that has made a lot of changes. The policy has eased out the regulatory process. For example, if I say, especially for the SATCOM, earlier any Indian satellite operator who has to put their own satellite, there were restrictions in terms of using the orbital resources. It has to be Indian orbital resources, Indian spectrum. It has that the telemetry tracking and command has to be in India. There were many other restrictions were there, which now have been eased out. Now the Indian satellite operator can use the non-Indian orbital resources also. The authorization, the usage of the non-Indian satellite capacity has also been eased out. The process. Earlier, there was a restriction that it has to be, the Indian capacity has to be first consumed, and then only the non-Indian satellite capacity can be taken, irrespective of the frequency band or the ground segment availability and so on. Now that restriction is not there. The procurement of the non-Indian satellite capacity had to be through Department of Space, basically NCLR and RICS. That restriction has been removed. It is only now we are giving the one-time authorization for the satellite rather than giving the authorization or approval to the individual service providers or the users. Now, frankly speaking, end user service provider need not approach or take any approval from the either in space or from Department of Space. It's only the satellite operator, one-time approval. So, likewise, there are many reforms which were brought out by the government, of course, including in space. FDI under the space sector was liberalized, and we are now planning to bring out very shortly the guidelines for implementation of FDI. For ease of doing business, I am happy to share with you that now we have agreed, government, all the departments have agreed to have a single window interface system, interdepartmental clearances, which includes the Department of Telecommunication, WPC, Licensing Division, MIT. What are the major the department which are part of the which are connected to the SATCOM, we will be putting, and the INSpace will be taking the lead in implementing the single window interface system. And of course, we are trying to bring out now the Space Act also, working with the government and various department, so that we have the not only executive power but also have the legal teeth. So this is part one. The part two is now other than that policy. Now access to the technology, facilities and funding support. There are also a lot of initiative has been taken. INSpace has the mandate to make access of the technology of ISRO as well as all the test facilities and resources to the non-government entities and private parties. It's already started for last 2-3 years. We have got more than 500 applications and providing support from the non-government entities of various type of support, including the launch structure, launch basis, and some of the testing of the satellites as integrated testing or the satellite system testing, which have been going on. The technology transfer, we have done actually now about to reach 100 technology transfer, which has made in last 2 years to the private entities. And some of the SATCOM technology transfers like the feed, the ground station, the modems, all those technologies are also being done, which is developed by the ISRO. Funding wise, lot of initiative, that 1,000 crore VC fund announced by the government. This is one of its own kind, first time in the space sector by government of India. And we have started now the implementing the guidelines are coming out very shortly. We have our own differential pricing policy, where all the technology support or technology transfer or the test facility support provided by ISRO, we provide 30 to 50% of the pricing support for use of those facility. For launch, there is a price support. We have announced by several others, that recently the technology adoption fund, where the technology is developed already, which is the lower tier level or 6 to 7 tier level. Now those technology can be adopted by the industry and take it up to the manufacturing level. And for that, the funding support is provided by Space. Recently announced, we have the seed funding scheme for the startups. We have the other type of funding scheme which is coming. There is one program called the PI program, where it's for the pre-incubation entrepreneurship support to the startups, including the final year students of the this thing. We have been now also in touch with various state government. Already we have the MOU with the Gujarat government and the Karnataka government to have the manufacturing clusters where the state government will provide all type of infrastructure to the private entities and then try to develop the manufacturing cluster for the satellite systems, for the launch systems and so on. Couple of more states also we have in the advanced stage of signing an MOU. So basically this is what is steps as far as the other ecosystem is concerned. Third very important point is the space spectrum availability. And this is one thing which is we have taken a lot of steps toward the Atmanirbhar. And this is very important because even today, although we are the Satcom in India is almost around 4 to 5 decades old, we have been using the satellite capacity for the VSATs and then as for the broadcast services. But even today, we have almost 65 to 70% of the total satellite requirement, Satcom requirement is served by the foreign satellites. VSATs, we have 2.5 lakh VSATs, but still more than half of the VSATs are operating on non-Indian satellite. So there is certainly a lot of steps are required, initiatives are required to promote and to bring the private entities in India to start establishing their own communication satellite and provide the Satcom capacity. So far, it is only ISRO who has been actually launching the satellite. We have good constellation, but that is not adequate to meet the demand. The steps we have taken in the two important things was in the which are the basic hurdles in bringing out its own satellite by the private entities. One is the spectrum, and which is very long-run process to take the spectrum through the international level coordination from ITU and all, and that takes 6 to 7 years to bring the issue spectrum with a lot of uncertainties. And second thing, the capital intensive. It's the space itself is a long gestation period, where the break-even itself comes after 5, 6, 7, 8 years. When satellite life itself would be maximum 10 years for GSO or maybe 5 years for the NGSO constellation. So we have taken the initiative. We now recently made an available the spectrum which was available with ISRO to a private entity through announcement of opportunity. It was done Ka-band spectrum, and the particular entity now will be bringing a very good high throughput Ka-band communication satellite, first ever by an Indian private player in India in next 3 years time. Now we are also trying to identify a couple of orbital spectrum resources. Very shortly we will be bringing announcement of opportunity for those orbital resources also. Not only that, we have also now started working on making a separate ITU filing primarily for the non-government entities, other than what ISRO or the government has been doing for the government. So this is one initiative which we have taken. The other thing, important thing comes in the demand generation. So towards that also, we have done a demand assessment, taking the stakeholder consultation around this year. We took the one-to-one consultation with the broadcasting industry as well as the telecom industry, government and the startups, service providers, broadcasters, and just try to brought out. We in fact brought out our report where the total what is could be the next in 5 years the total Satcom capacity demand, and it was very surprising. Surprisingly, we got the figures. Something about 900 Gbps of the capacity only for telecommunication for next 5 years. And of course, we involved US work also and government also. And this is only for the towards the VSATs, edge connectivity like your Bharat and all, IFMC, IoT, those type of applications. But if you take now the consumer product, now we know that it is going to pick up using some of the NGSO constellation and high throughput satellite which have made the satellite cost affordable. the figure is going to the terabytes, 3 to 4 terabytes. Could we imagine that type of capacity availability? We don't have the capacity. Now, of course, we have depended upon the some of the capacity which is coming up through NGSO constellation, and we, in fact, we have now brought out the NGSO constellation also introduction to India. We have already authorized a couple of NGSO constellation, couple of more applications are in process. So, so after having the assessing the capacity, now we also wanted to ensure that really what capacity assessment has been done. Of course, this is subject to many ifs and buts, especially whether the cost of the capacity should be affordable. It should come down, then only consumer broadband can take up. So now we are planning to have a joint working group, which will have the representation from the DOT, WPC, MIB, in-space, DOS, which will now work towards the generation of the demand. What are the strategy and the implementation? How can we really generate the demand, adequate demand in India, so that the new Indian potential satellite operator could really have some incentive and come up to start the business, including the NGSO constellation. So I will stop here. The idea is basically in space is certainly, and then I just to take another 1 minute only. Mr. Sinha, your BharatNet extended BharatNet program, of course, we as a part of that JWG will be discussing with you. We did discuss this during the when we did the exercise of the capacity assessment. And the important thing is, under the BharatNet phase 1 and phase 2, some of the, I think more than 5,000 villages were connected to satellite, where the still the connectivity is not there. But you see that the connectivity was 10 by 20 Mbps. It's very, very meager.
तो आप उसको तुरंत चेंज करा दीजिए ना, आप इसको अपडेट कर दीजिए.
So this is what I am trying to tell. In 1 gram panchayat 10 by 20 does not have any meaning in 1 gram panchayat. And that was reason because that capacity was not available. Now we are working towards that, where we have got the right now the adequate capacity, and we will be working. If it is not Indian capacity, we will bring the capacity, and then show that actual whatever your the planning of DOT is there for Samruddhi Kendra. We have taken such type of initiative in the village resource center, using not only the remote sensing resources as well as Satcom resources together. And then this type of village, we have 400, 500 villages we have developed with all the natural resources and all. So we will be working together, we will be reaching out to all the government department as well as to the industry, big industry like the Airtel and the other. How can we support even and the manufacturing space ecosystem in India? They have taken a lot of efforts. The ground terminals, user terminals, ground station and service. In fact, we have started now, and for the telemetry command ground system for the communication satellite. Also now we are getting the authorization very soon. One of the company. So this is all initiative. Very short I wanted to tell for the benefit of it, and regularly for the any questions.
Dr. Praful, actually that 5,000 that you are talking, I am sure it is going to be much more cost effective than what we are paying right now. Sir is sitting here, he is the decision maker. Probably if you can come up with a very cost effective solution, I mean higher bandwidth at a much lesser cost, it can always be decided. Sir can always decide.
Give an example, of course, without putting any name and all that thing, the capacity cost now, in the neighboring country. Recently there was a news, one of the constellation has started broadband, 300 rupees per month subscription for the broadband, 1 time 3,000 rupees. So certainly
phenomenal. If it can come at that
so, and I am sure the
game
people will
changer.
be working around this year, and they have also the plans of going to the next generation of satellite constellation, user terminal technology development. You are talking about 2035, I am sure, and we have the 2033 to take the $44 billion.
Great.
Thank you so much, Dr. Jain. I think it's an excellent example of how regulatory intervention with proactive government policies can open up an entire new industry. And in fact, what Atulji and you were discussing about was rural connectivity and 3,000 rupees and so on. I see a huge amount of uptake in the urban areas also, because it provides dependable connectivity, besides the weather changes and so on, but largely dependable connectivity, and I think it will be a significant game changer. I was also waiting to hear about backhaul to maybe the 4G saturation project. I'm sure those initiatives will also be happening. So we'll have connectivity with no dark shadows in the entire nation. So we look forward to that. Great. Thank you so much. Would you like to add anything, Niranji?
I think
We'll continue. Rahul, over to you.
Yes, sir. I think what we have worked till now is really the humongous amount of effort the government is trying to put to really integrate digital connectivity and take it down to the next level. What you also mentioned about various of the initiatives the industry has been trying to take. Having heard all this, I just want to take you on a different attitude now. How telco tries to see what's going to happen in future. And I really want to break up this discussion into two parts. One is where we are and what is it that we can do, and really what are the enablers which are necessary for us to reach where we want to reach. So let's start up front. We are today covering 98% of the population in this country. This 98% population is covered primarily through 4G and 5G now. So you have broadband connectivity available even today in 6.5 lakh villages. That's the first point. Now, out of this, the concern of the government in the past has been, what is the fixed line penetration going down to these villages? This fixed line penetration is very abysmal. So we are looking at only 10% of Indian households getting this sort of connectivity. Actually, in terms of numbers, it's nearly just 5% of the total mass we have covered in terms of the mobile penetration. Why is this reason? Why have we not reached 5%? Just 5% of thing. It is linked to the fiberization of the towers. In India, we have around 7 lakh towers. And if you look at fiberization, we are hardly around 30 to 35%. Compared to, let's say, take China, 100%, or even US, nearly 90%. Now, why are we not fiberized? We are not fiberized because, because we are having administrations who are charging humongous. Imagine going to Bombay and being asked to pay crore of rupees to lay down 100 meters of fiber. It's commercially not viable to do all these things. The government has taken right initiatives. We have got the right of the gazette which came out, and still we are having problems because of the fact that the local administrations have either onboarded the policy but not entered the portal. If they have onboarded the portal up, the local bodies have still not got onboarded. So there's a problem of fiberization which is clearly there. That needs to be solved if you want to reach to a level of China or let's say in terms of use. The third part of our problem is that even when we have set up the network, what are the applications, and this is not captured in the slides, was trying to show what are we really going to do. This very first application which comes to mind and which has really revolutionized our country, which is the ecosystem, is the banking. Right? So we today have 450 million people who are doing digital banking in this country. So that's one area. Even my own rate payment bank, by the way, does around 75 billion, mostly in suburban rural areas. Insurance, remittances, transfers. So that's where we are. Now, how do I then add up all of this and say, and by the way, I forgot the fourth one. Fourth important part, increasingly when you do have connectivity and when we are using for applications like banking, etc., there's a huge amount of problem which has come now on trust and safety. Half of the time you are not even sure you are doing a transaction correctly or not. You are not sure. Somebody sends you a link, you are not clear where you are or where you are not. And then the fifth problem from a telco lens is the way the technology is evolving. It's really converging. And are we ready as an ecosystem in a regulatory framework to be ready to face it? How? Because there is increasingly now convergence of satellite coming towards your terrestrial. There is a convergence of way you are using your phones. Are you using a WhatsApp mode or a normal mobile phone mode? That's a convergence which is happening, and even broadcasting now increasingly getting into the zone of convergence. Add to it the layer of artificial intelligence, and the data protection which is surrounding us. So this is where primarily we are currently. Now, what can be some of the enablers as I want to see ahead over the next few years, which is really going to make a huge amount of difference to this country? I think the first thing to be addressed is, as far as the digitalization of fiber is concerned, the fiberization is concerned, we need to get really, really harsh. We need to create indexes on states to say, if you are not coming up with this benchmark, there are disincentives to do it. We have done incentive enough. I think we should start looking at incentive. Create an index to say, okay, Haryana is doing great. Within Haryana, these are the districts who are doing great. And I think the government is already working on a sort of a broadband readiness index plan. But it's high time, we really try to classify and show what is being done, what is not being done. B, this tendency of a lot of government agencies to extract and monetize money for infrastructure. The recent case in point you would have heard in news is the Mumbai Metro. They set up the Mumbai Metro, they have given it to a third party, they want to charge humongous amount of money for me to provide service. What for? Why should I pay that money? Take the example of Central Vista in Delhi. We have set up the infrastructure, zero cost. The new parliament building, parliament invited us, set up the infrastructure, zero cost. Why should I pay money to a Mumbai Metro to put up my network? These are the issues and challenges which need to be sorted out if you want fiberization, if you want to go to the next level of growth. Now let's come back to the rural part. The rural part, I think the government, in all fairness, the no-fun network actually became a fun and no-fun at that time. Then of course we have the BharatNet, and I am an early user of BharatNet. Right? I really put a lot of money in BharatNet, but my SLA was very, very poor. I was having an SLA of, and we shared that, 60 to 70% availability. Suppose I go to a rural village, and I tell the person in the village, I am going to give you service 60% of the times, but 40% of the time you manage on your own. Right? That's not a service. Nobody is going to take such a service. Right? So this SLA is going to come when you actually create a framework where people increase their investment because they want to invest. Why do I invest in a urban area? Because I see a return on that investment. No, naturally there is no such return in the rural area, right? Because of the sparse population. So we said created a model of viability gap funding and say let's go to this. And I think Mr. Verma is one of the pioneers of how he has reformed the USO mechanisms. Most efficient running USO sites today. And when he joined, it was a mess. I still remember. He has put extra hours, extra efforts to see that we clean up those projects. So he created a model where you create check-in mechanisms, but he also rolled out. So that trust has to come within the ecosystem players, whether it's the government, whether it's the private players. So you encourage me to go there, but also create mechanisms so that I invest more and more. So that framework has to, undergo change. The third part I want to reach is this uncovered population, and Mr. Jain just alluded to it. I think satellite is the answer. You will not be able to reach the last village with the terrestrial, and going to fiber is going to be still a challenge. We are doing a project in Arunachal Pradesh. To put up around 150 sites, I had to put up 700 kilometers of fiber. And because of the terrain, the fiber gets cut because it's hanging on poles. I cannot dig in the mountains. So it gets cut frequently. And that is where I think satellite platform is the immediate answer. It has to, now we start seeing the benefits, the space being formed and mechanism coming in place. And there are small things remaining, like how do we really, fast track this further, how do we make things go faster, and how do we use the infrastructure we are creating in India to even serve Sri Lanka, for example, to Bangladesh, Nepal. Why shouldn't I do that? I should be allowed to do that. And I think it's allowed in the policy, but we are disagreeing. The last part I wanted to really address, or the second last part, is on the trust and safety. I think we have to create and give the confidence to people to feel secure when they are on their mobile, on their broadband. Otherwise, we are heading towards a huge problem. We launched our spam initiative in September last year. Till now, we have seen we have analyzed 2.4 billion calls, around 1.8 billion SMSs. We discovered that 1.17 million spammers and scammers. We shared that data with I4C, with other agencies, with RBI. And that now gives you a choice when you're getting a phone, whether you want to pick up the phone or not. It's a choice, informed choice. Last week, we launched our second generation of spam initiative, which now we will not allow a fraudulent link to open on your phone. We will block it. Right? And we have developed full AI intelligence. We are 99% accurate on our solution. The link will not just open. You get a fraudulent link, it will not open. Of course, if it is set up in the last 2 hours, the system will take some time to learn. That's the way AI works. So that is another initiative we have done on fraud detection. By the way, this is not so accurate on the WhatsApp, on the Telegram, on the RCS. Why? Because I don't get the same amount of markers from these people. And that's the other part of the problem, because they are just nowhere, they are not bound to do anything at all. Third, we have asked all the fraternity, including my telco friends, some of them sitting here, including RBI, including SEBI, including NPCI. In fact, RBCI and NPCI, RBI agreed this week that they will work together with us for a joint collaboration on a fraud initiative. Right? So we are going to enlarge the ecosystem, we are going to share the data with every player in this country who wants to create a database for fraud. Right? We are not going to allow the fraudsters to go on the way they have been going on. Now let me jump back to this thing about the RCS. I was in a meeting with the Ministry of Home earlier this 2 months back. While spam starts on phone, 100% of digital arrest cases happen on a WhatsApp or on RCS. Right? So he'll call you, once you enter the system, he will take you on a WhatsApp call and he'll latch on to you. Why is this happening? Let me take an example. Your phone can be dead, you don't recharge your phone, you can throw the SIM card. Your WhatsApp is going to be alive for next 10 years if you want to be. Right? And this has to change. The security agencies have to come into play, they have to ensure you cannot run your life like this anymore. Second part is, we are subjected to various checks. I have to do a KYC, I have to do a ledger technology, I have to ensure that I am following patterns in my messaging. No such rule exists, it's self-regulation. If WhatsApp wants to do, they will do. If they don't want to, they will not do. Right? But we have to create a forum where everybody is treated equal. I'm not wanting a licensing on them, but at least follow the basic rules for spam. How can you be sending messages and not following the same rules? Thankfully, the TRI has taken a good initiative, the Joint Committee of Regulators, and they have recommended now to the Ministry of IT to really look at this aspect. The part about convergence, the part about AI, I think the government and yourself, I think we have to recognize the upcoming convergence. We have to change and see how we address it. Some part of it is covered in the draft which you have circulated on the NTP, and we have given various suggestions to COI to address that particular part, because you have to now start, when you talk about a telecom policy, you have to look for next 10 years, 15 years, at least be ready for that. On AI, we should go on a principle-based regulation. Let's not go into a lot of detailing right now. We are learning, and there will be a time for stricter regulation. But right now, we have the space to really innovate and go about it. And data protection, I hope we remain harmonized in the approach we are using. Last but not the least, knowing Neeraj sir is there, I would still want to take the plea of what more can be done. So the fixed line broadband regulation, the recommendation of the TRI is still pending, which was to reduce the license fees. That would be one big boost available. I know the department in fact changed it from 5 years to 10 years, but it is where it is, and so that is a major change. The second big part to look out here is the backhaul. The backhaul charges, while the access charges for the auction spectrum is now zero, no service, no spectrum usage charge. But on backhaul, we still are paying 2-3% charge. And I think the TRI has already seized on the matter, and there's a consultation, but it's high time to reduce the backhaul. It will really incentivize you to go ahead. Taxes. Why am I charged if I am a telecom connectivity provider, same GST as a tobacco company? What is the rationale, what is the logic? Am I doing the same activity as a tobacco company? I think it's high time the government starts equating that if connectivity is the backbone of how we are going to grow, we cannot have a taxation regime which is running contrary to how we are really seeing things. So So I think some substance of this is that we are in a great space. A lot of work has been done, and the policy framework, as we just saw coming from Mr. Sinha, there's a lot planned in the future. We just have to get it right, get the framework right, and we have to really start. I'm very hopeful, very optimistic. I think we are in for really great time.
Thank you, Rahul. That's a lot of good initiatives from the private sector. And as General Poacher also mentioned, your initiative on AI-based spam protection has been extremely helpful to me. Yeah, I think besides not getting spammed, it's also helped in increasing productivity because we are not being pulled out from important meetings for a persistent call, which turns out to be a spam. So a lot of benefits, and also, as you said, still a long way to go because of the constraints that we all operate in. So thank you, Rahul. I'll move on to Ambika from Vodafone. So Ambika Khurana, over to you. If somebody could just click the microphone to now.
Thank you. Good afternoon, and apologies for being late. Thanks to C-DEP, Jayjeet for organizing this. Good afternoon, Neeraj sir. Good afternoon, everyone. The fun part of speaking after all the previous speakers is that most of the points have been spoken, right? So in alignment with a lot of action and a lot of work that the TSPs have already done in the past. Sir, I think just to add on to one different perspective is keeping the consumer in center of what we want to achieve, right? We are all consumers, we are all subscribers. And how do we benefit an ecosystem which is one, very consumer centric, and two, instead of leaving all the fast chatter about competition, talking about a very collaborative space where all telecom service providers, where of course new players in the satellite space or even the digital companies have a co-shared responsibility of contributing to the network. So I'm just going to take 2 minutes to talk about responsible use of networks, what it means, what it stands for, and what we've been discussing at Vodafone Idea in terms of having a very broad principle-based framework that is going to help us and help the country in the longer run. So one, of course, as we realize the focus of keeping the consumer in the center, this is a responsible network space where we all co-create the networks, we are all co-responsible for it, we coordinate together to achieve, and we all co-contribute towards it. So what it means is enhancing overall network performance, enhancing connectivity. We spoke about ubiquitous connectivity to everyone. Rahul spoke extensively about trust and safety, which of course all of us are totally involved in terms of multiple measures towards consumer trust and safety. But from a broad paradigm, sir, one in terms of having a very connected ecosystem, where if I talk about satellite, for it to totally complement the IMD penetration, which is almost 95-98% through wireless services. Two, in terms of a very firm code of conduct for optimizing traffic and ensuring that it is secure. In terms of rightful information, rightful interception to the law enforcement agencies, and also the trust and security measures to a consumer. So, navigating the congestion piece, navigating the consumer trust and safety piece, and the security piece becomes super important. The third point, of course, is in terms of a legislative framework, which would ensure not just commercial terms, but also market access in terms of spectrum pricing, in terms of the return on capital deployed that the IMDs have done over the past multiple years. So, sir, when we speak about levies, the IMD ecosystem today talks about a levy base of almost 39 to 40%. It includes the 18% GST the previous speaker spoke about, which includes the US oil fund, which includes the other license fee which is paid. So our suggestion would be to look at this entire framework to see how do we reduce the levy base, make it more competitive, make it more harmonized with global practices, make it more fair in today's terms. And I'd also refer to what General Poacher spoke a little while back on the spectrum pricing. So if we club all this together with a 40% burden on the top line, it becomes quite non-competitive for all of us. And I'm not just talking about my company, but all of us in this entire space. So, sir, one of us, a long-standing request of reviewing the US oil fund, the DBN fund, and when we say DBN, again, going back to the topic of saying that when the entire digital ecosystem is harnessing, co-working together towards it, the contribution should be very joint and I would say at a very level playing field and equitable. So with this framework, sir, the commitment of the industry, the commitment of the telcos is extremely high. We are very enthused about what lies ahead. We are very excited about connecting the last man and woman standing in the country. But we need this continued partnership and guidance from your ministry to take place ahead. And happy to answer any question that comes up.
Thank you so much, Ambika. I think Vodafone itself is a great example of industry-government collaboration, not just in executing but also in a captable scenario. I think very good suggestions from Vodafone in terms of what are the changes that are needed to accelerate the rollout of networks. Is there any other points on this side of the table? I'll then move to the other side. Yes, please. The gentleman there, and then I'll come back to you. Just keep it short in the interest of time.
Yes. So thanks, Jaideep, for organizing this Conclave. Thanks, C-DEP. Thanks for the nice presentation, Iris and Sanasa, for that digital village. Fine. One thing while I was listening to the presentation was ringing in mind. It's like there is a common service center which is already being done by Mighty. Fine. There are close to like 4 lakh common service center across the villages. So maybe some sort of synergy can be built into these 3 model villages that you are making, that to scale up to 2.5 lakh villages and all. Second point is like glad to hear said your thought on the PLI, because somehow we get to hear more about the PLI for mobile phone. So PLI for telecom somehow gets shadowed by that. And you mentioned there's more than 2 billion of export which is happening, and there's a substantial import substitution also because of this PLI. So that is one. Second, on the fiber thing, I represent Corning Technology, which is a fiber company. The fiber, previous speaker already alluded to in terms of demand generation by the government, because towers are not fiberized. We are hearing this for almost like 6-7 years now. Like the tower will be fiberized, but again there are some local and state issue which is not enabling that 30% to go 100%. In the fiber, it's a very different case. There is a close to 30 million fiber kilometer demand in the country, while the capacity which every player has got to 90. So everyone is sitting on the ideal capacity. There is no such a Bharat initiative is good, but that is not sufficient enough. So tower fiberization can be one initiative by the government that will lead these companies to produce more fiber. Fiber is a low-hanging thing, fine. So India can become a sort of fiber capital of the world, provided government provide those kind of incentive, some sort of export incentive. Earlier MEIS was there, but after MEIS, road tape was not sufficient enough, to sort of nudge all these fiber companies to produce more. And that is one request, to the government also, if government can come. Fiber is not there in the PLI also. So some sort of special incentive can be worked out to see the potential of manufacturing more and more fiber, and that can be exported to the world.
No, thank you, Amit. In fact, we're also looking for a representative from STL, you two being the largest producers of fiber optic. They had an issue in terms of market access to US and not having a reciprocal arrangement in India. Very important points. Thank you so much. So you had a point. Could somebody pass the speaker to the gentleman here?
Thank you. This is Satya Gupta from the LSI Society of India. I come from semiconductor and technology field, so I just want to make 2 quick points. We work with basically DOT and task force report for identifying 10 important chips for telecom. Earlier, basically, we just your predecessor and recently also we did. So I just want to make 2 points. From the technology looking forward, not of the needs of today. If I look at scenario 8 to 10 years down the road, right? First thing is that every chip in next 10 years is going to have some kind of wireless connectivity, whether it's a cellular, Wi-Fi, or some other form of basically wireless connectivity. And today in India, we have a zero commercial capability in wireless technologies, basically in form of the semiconductor chip. We don't have any 5G, 6G chip, we don't have any Wi-Fi chip, hardly any DT or other chip, right? So that is area of concern, because this is going to become a huge security risk when every chip in the whatever we use in any equipment, be telecom, mobile phone, everything will have wireless connectivity, for which we don't have any control. For example, 5G chips are controlled by 6 companies in the world. Only 6 companies have that capability, and 2 of them are Chinese, right? iSilicon and Ubisoft, right? Others are basically Qualcomm, MediaTek, Samsung, and one more, right? So that is the area of huge concern going forward, and we should do something about it to kind of, this cannot be done in a startup mode, it has to be done in a mission mode, right? Top-down mode. Second point I wanted to make is basically next 8 to 10 years. I think some people probably might have made this point earlier because I came in between. The internet through satellite is going to become the main basically mode in the next 10 years, right? And today we are basically like, starting on other things to side, but what happens like Atmanirbhar, basically at that critical time the services are not available to us, right? So having very good space capabilities and basically very good telecom capacity, why don't we construct a program to have our own basically Starlink? So India, if we want to become Viksit Bharat, we need to be having our own satellite internet package. Might take basically somewhere around $5 billion, but if we are spending basically $20 billion in PLI and FAB and all those things, this is basically pretty important field where basically for looking at the future of Viksit Bharat and security angle, right? It becomes very imperative that we have to have our own basically version of the Starlink. We have the space capability, we have basically equipment capabilities, we can put the right electronics in the satellites, and now a lot of startups are also there in the space, right? Together if we talk, we can basically build communication satellites that basically at least 1/3 to 1/4 of the cost of what a Starlink did, right? And that could become basically a future backbone for our communication. These are the points I wanted to make.
Absolutely. No, thank you so much for highlighting the security aspects. Actually, there are some fundings going into the chips from the TDF. I've seen those projects.
Can I take a minute?
It's actually over to you, so please go ahead.
So it's not a little chip, right? For example, a 5G communication chip is going to take 500 million to billion dollars, right?
Of course.
So it cannot be done in a DLI framework where we are giving 2 million, 3 million, 5 million, right? So it needs to be thought at a very high level and basically mission.
Of course. But let's just keep it a little short as we do.
30 seconds. Neeraj sir, in the starting you mentioned 3 priorities. One is telecom manufacturing zone, telecom chipset and telecom software. Okay, my request is telecom system development or hardware development. Like I am in semiconductor industry for 40 years and I was considered of Motorola Freescale, PMC Sierra, which were major telecom chipset manufacturers. And I have worked very closely with C-DEP. Okay, I'm not saying those system integration development, that should be one of the top priority for us. Still, even the Wi-Fi routers we get from TP-Link type of companies, or only chip-on technology I remember we developed with C-DEP, but we should leverage our C-DEP R&D and focus more on the hardware development also, apart from the 3 priorities which are very important what you mentioned. But I think hardware development and system development should be one more top priority for us.
It is. We said development and commercialization of telecom chipsets.
Yeah. Chipset, but systems also.
System also.
Yeah. Along with chipsets, systems.
Thank you so much. We'll move down the table.
TMZ में actually we are looking for any such things only. So telecom manufacturing zone में we are just looking at those products which are being used in large volumes in the country, which has a future like CPs, like satellite terminals and all, which we can develop and we just every single part of it. Yeah.
What your point is?
Because I'm seeing only Tejas network and
Yes.
few telecom companies have remained, so we need more of such systems company.
Absolutely. Raja, over to you. It'll work. Just start talking.
Yeah, that's fine. Well, thanks first of all, thank you very much, Neeraj,
It's. I think it's not working. Maybe we can switch the microphones, or maybe we can use this one while. You want to pass this?
Yeah.
Just use the blue one.
So, I think I come from the world of consulting and finance. Just an outside view is, first of all, congratulations for what government has done in this space. But if you look at it carefully, India's scale, you have three operators today, three private operators. You look at US, there's 5, China has 3, sovereign owned. If I have something for us to look at, to medium and long term. Because anything that you need to grow at scale needs some backing of capital and finance and very solid strength of the companies. And having worked in the space for the last 25, 26 years, I definitely see some stress in the ecosystem from various angles of balance sheet. So maybe think about how we can create maybe more operators, number one. And second is, as Mr. Kuchar also said, it's an essential service. You can't have a kind of a crisis in the ecosystem from an operator perspective. So I think finance, something that we could look at carefully. The second is, I think, a lot have been talked about trust and safety. I just want maybe just in 20 seconds, I went to Cook for a holiday, and it's just a waiter in the restaurant. 18-year-old boy serves food and does it very well, and education. I asked him what he studied. He talked about studying college. Served us, went back to a small room. There were 4 or 5 boys sitting there, and they were all hooked to the phone. The reason what I'm sharing, and something that I reflected, is that you're talking about the connectivity, which is great. Youth is great, but the usage. Today, there is a huge issue about social media. I have 2 daughters, I'm sure many of us have that. Attention span, use of content, deep fakes are real. They are not just media statements. So think about when we look at connectivity, digital education, digital usage, I think needs to go hand in hand. Because otherwise, what are we trying to build in the next generation? So that's just thought process. And the last is I would just like to highlight is about startup and deep tech mindset. Because if you look at the ecosystem of private equity, venture capital, it's great, but it's focused on returns. If you really need to propagate deep tech, the government and sovereign needs to play a role, which is little patient capital.
Right, no, thank you. I don't know whether I'm audible. I'm audible? Yeah. I think this works. So, I think that point even extends to the Samrit Ram issue, isn't it? Because everybody is working so hard to provide that connectivity, and if it can get, if I can say, misused, because that's what you're really driving at, then that be a sad issue. But it will happen because it's happening in the urban areas, and we need to build ring fences pretty similar to what Airtel is doing in terms of spam being stopped. But this is not spam, this is something else, and has been demonstrated to impact mental health. So, a very important point. Right. Can you move down the table to the lady or the next person?
Yeah, I have been guys here. Thanks for organizing this. It's good to see you. Most of the points have been covered. I am in single. I represent Samsung here. I've been in the industry for 30 years since the mobile revolution started. So good to see the progress. Industry has solved problems and then it has been thrown a challenge with the PSPs and the COI and the government. It has always been addressed. And I'm hopeful we will get the challenges and the industry will move on. And that's 9 rupee per GB cost and all. People will be able to stack up and the industry has been able to solve the problem. From at least most of the points have been addressed, and the spectrum, which was the issue 30 years back, from an option point of view, continues to be an issue now. Good to see if it has become horizontal, that means it has to be addressed. This was the same problem 30 years back. It continues to be a challenge for the industry even now. And I think Rahul also tried to cover on OTT issues and things like that on security. I think these are real, and I think Raja, your point was quite valid on something that I see at home. The next skill set that is needed within our children is to see how to strike conversation. I struggle with my daughter because she's on social media, the span is different, and how do you interact with us within the society? What kind of society? Very, very good point, I think. So those will be the challenges that will come in. In terms of, sir, you said there's something around, innovation and things like that. I was looking at Google I/O conference that just happened 3 days back. You could see the applications. To your point, it will come. Innovation will come. You see that the way the language translation is happening on the video calls on a real-time basis, right? It's amazing. Coding is no more a skill set. You need to know English and the prompts, and the system will write the code for you. So the skill set that is needed to develop is completely different. I think we need to go back on the whiteboards and get the right experts to understand what kind of skills we need as a country. I don't think so. We are clear enough at the moment. One more thing you brought up on the platform for the digital this thing, sir. And government as an example. I'm not following it. ONDC platform that has been created to do the transactions and invite so within the government. There are examples which probably need to scale up to address something that Abdulji covered on the broadband side. And those could be done, and we have seen during COVID, if government wants to work, the supply chain works. So there are examples, and we need to go what went well in those cycles to understand how to address it. From the point that my friend Satya made on the technology, yes, Samsung does make chipsets, probably one of the pioneers in 3 nanometer technologies. And we have done the investments in the country, and I'm sure Qualcomm has done it, I'm sure others have done it. There are almost 7,000 direct and indirect employees working in Samsung in India, which is almost 25% of the workforce. And around 7,000 are more or less R&D engineers and working on different skill sets, including in the semiconductor business. Qualcomm has a big setup as well, as I recall. The challenge is when we create these funds, it needs to be created for global companies as well to get access, because these are skill sets which cannot be developed overnight. It is unfortunately a journey, and I will be happy to be alive to see some of these skill sets coming out of our institutions. So what is needed is whatever the funds government is creating and has created has to be made accessible to both the global companies and the local companies with certain tangible outputs that will come in, so that we are able to create an IPR community in India. We are very weak. We need to create that, and the only way to do it is by collaboration with the multinationals as well as promoting the local institutes and the companies. So something to look at from to address some of the concerns that you said, because guess what? It's not an easy. It's not an easy business. Intel is losing money. There's big companies like Intel is losing money, right? So we need to be careful when we are drafting that kind of policies. I'm not worried about the investments, because guess what? We have $348 billion companies. So 348 companies in India are $1 billion companies, which is third largest in the world. More than China. In China, more as I think someone said, they are driven from sovereign funds and are private. So we can talk about the transparency there. But we are the third largest country in the world where we have 348 billion companies which are $1 billion companies. So there is enough buoyant and capital available and risk appetite available in the market. So I'm not worried about that. But it's just that we have to find ways to engage the global community much more openly within this Atmanirbhar framework that we are talking about. The institutes need to be playing to step up as well. The education institutes, of course, we talked about it. From the last point from my side at least was also to see, I think Rahul touched on it on the AI part. We need to be careful and find as we are. This framework is opening up, we need to learn and make sure it is implemented in a way which is is not counterproductive. This will come. We like it or not, it will come. The networks of today are closed. They will get desegregated. So you will get, the networks will open. Currently, the boxes that the vendors supply, including Samsung, are closed in Indian market. But in US, Samsung supplies the network which are open. So you can buy hardware from anywhere and it becomes a software centric. So this whole gungoism about manufacturing the telecom in India has to be looked at that the networks will become software centric. So maybe this is not going to long live the manufacturing part, right? Of course we need it as India, but we also need to be careful because this is becoming software centric. So you will get chipsets from Intel anywhere and the software for telecom will just supply. So the security aspects will completely change in the next 5 or 10 years. So we need to take cognizance of that where the industry is going. I'll leave it there.
Now, thank you, Nipun. I think it's important to know how the envelope of safety and security is changing because of the nature of technology changing and moving towards something. That's a very critical point. Thank you for all the interventions. Should we move to Amit? Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
Just a quick introduction also.
Yeah, I'm Amit Shukla, I'm founder of Empower Panchayat, where I'm using digital tool to empower Panchayat. As per the Constitution, Article 40 and 73 of the Constitution of India. So only 3 quick points. First, we should not village and Panchayat interchangeably. They are 2 different things. Village has no significance from the Constitution point of view as a government body, whereas Panchayat is a own self-government body. So I didn't find any mention in the Telecom Act or in the policy about the Panchayat. We only talk about the villages. What happens basically that when we talk about only the villages, we forget about the Panchayat as a unit of a self-government and we don't treat them as a stakeholder or a participant in the policy making or a decision making. And just the way I will come to the Kochas point, we forget about how to create that pull. To get the pull, you have to get the requirement from the ground, and for that the constitutional body is Gram Sabha. Without the Gram Sabha, will never come to know what village want. The Gram Pradhan cannot tell, the Lekpal cannot tell, the Panchayat Secretary cannot tell. So there's a Panchayat Nirnaya of Government of India where we were supposed to record the videos of Gram Sabha and upload it on the Panchayat Nirnaya app. Then only they will receive their 15th commission money. But only 0.5% Panchayat has uploaded the video. And some of them, like 70% of them maybe, told network or a bandwidth as a problem. I'm not sure whether it is or there is a gap of a technical competence at that level, but the adoption is 0.5%, and that is alarming. So we are trying to do that at the village level, how to create the pull. In the pull, whatever you're talking about, education, health, there are 29 subjects in the Panchayat. The Gram Sabha is deciding what they want, and this has to be video recorded and uploaded. For that, obviously, we need a telecom network. I'll close with this. In the digital Sabha, right, what we were discussing, the village and the physical village, right, we have a lot of asks from the Panchayat, but we don't have any authority to the Panchayat. It is about like asking everything that the Panchayat should take care of from a responsibility point of view, but not talking about that what financial authority or what authority they have, though as per the Constitution they have the authority. Thank you.
Thank you, Amit. Amit was earlier also CEO of one of the Reliance companies. So we kind of have all the 3 connectivity providers in this room. So thanks for all the interventions. Is anyone else from the outer circle who would like to intervene? Anyone else would like to put in their points? Great. So then we'll move back to the chair and sir, if you can have your viewpoints before we close this.
Thank you, Dr. Bhattacharya. It was indeed a very absorbing session, a lot of ideas, and for us also, we have noted down a lot of things. I'll just highlight a few things. First thing, it was, Rahul is of course not here, but he mentioned about fabrication and said that the various issues related to that. So we want to tell you that while we are rolling out amended BharatNet project, we have said that we are going to lay some 6 lakh OFC cables, and again Atul is, as a DDG of Business Transformation Unit, is spearheading that. We will make this, where we are laying this cable, this draft thing, available for the public domain, in the public domain. So any TSPs, anybody who wants to see that how it is going to help them in fabrication will help. That we try and factor that in and try and see that if we can tweak our laying of the OFC so that the cost can be minimized. So that we plan to do. A lot of things you said and we have noted. Of course, about network, 6 GHz government. That department is seized on matters. ROW rules. Just the other day we had a meeting, and hopeful that the other states will follow that, because that's an important aspect of ease of doing business, and it has been flagged by you quite often. We are, in this Digital Bharat Nidhi Fund, as you all know, that is not only rolling out BharatNet and mobile towers, but is also now diversified in other areas where we are in a way helping the industries. So Innovation Fund, which is going to come through Anveshan, is one area where it has been helping the industry, and it's a learning process for us, but we know that a lot of things are required to be done, which in a way will help the industry. This support to industry has been said that how can, what is conceptualized can get translated into an actual form of demand. So what we felt is that, when we are doing this R&D, simultaneously this TEC GR standardization also needs to be done, so that when we do the procurement, we know that this is certified and we are able to do this procurement from the startups. Regarding your point, you said that we should have more than 3 operators. One thing which I would tell is that this, when we have you are aware that new Act is notified and rules have also been notified. We have a few set of rules on authorization license left, but we have also set up one sort of a body, which is ETT we call it. It's like NEG in MIT, and we have a set of experts there, but we plan to roll it out in a complete digital manner. So our Act is digital by design, and we want to see that, supposing you are applying for a license, you are aware that it's very difficult, and different types of licenses are required for different things. By digital by design, it will be much easier for you to do it, and so to that extent we feel that for any serious player it will be easier to get license and do a business. Lastly, in DOT we have been interacting, and General Kocher is aware of the fact that we have, Honorable Minister himself is interacting with the industry very frequently. We are aware of many of these, things which you have flagged, satellite communication and other things, even DBN, this 5% license issue and all that. We are aware of it, but I'm sure that this dialogue is going on, and as it is going on, we will be able to fine tune our policy initiatives, which will be as per this. There won't be any gap between what you want and what we are doing. So thank you a lot, and thank you, Dr. Bhattacharya, for inviting me. It has been indeed a pleasure to interact with you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So with that, we'll close the session, but before we close the session, there's a little memento that we have for the chair. Manu, if you could help us with that. I'll request Advocate Bandasai to present the memento to the chair, the leader for a moment. There is lunch served, so before you leave, please help yourself with lunch. And thank you again, everybody, for taking out your time on a Saturday to be here.